I've sung the praises of Made In Cookware for a while now. I own many pieces myself. Now Made In has changed nonstick cookware for good with their ceramic-clad pans. They're premium stainless pans with next-gen ceramic coating free of harmful materials. Beautiful, even cooking, and easy to clean. It's even oven safe up to 550 degrees. How do I know how great they are? I added one to my kitchen. Don't need a nonstick pan? Made In has pots, cutlery, bakeware, glassware, and everything you need. Take your home cooking to the next level by upgrading your cookware by going to unitedwedrink.com/madein, MADEIN. Find out why pros trust Made In. Go to unitedwedrink.com/madein and upgrade your kitchen and cooking today. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour, more like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich, and, allergies fucking suck this year. I don't know about you guys, but...
You're just getting old.
That too, yeah. Also getting old with me is Tim Johnson and Kevin Abbott. How are your hips?
Each day is better than the next.
I told someone at work today that I had I had graduated college and had a full blown adult job when 9/11 happened, and it blew their effing mind. I explained oh, you were in kindergarten. I had a mortgage payment at that point. So I feel very old. Very old.
It's kind of messed up that particular event can really separate generations.
Oh yeah, 9/11 isn't even a great tragedy to this country as much as it is just a rubric by which you determine when you were born, right? For me, it's okay, I watched the Challenger fall apart in grade school. I was an adult when 9/11 happened, and I was like, why are all these national tragedies the benchmarks by which I determine my generation? And I realized, yes, I am a late Gen X, and we stood for nothing because everything around us was falling the fuck apart.
I am really happy that so few people listen to this show, and thank you for all our listeners, but also the fact that Tim is probably not going to be able to run for any kind of political office, because there will be a clip out there that people can download where Tim is saying 9/11 was not a big tragedy for this country, and they could just put that on bumper stickers and billboards, and you're unelectable. I'm sorry.
To be fair, you took
okay.
him out of context there.
Well, okay. Also,
doesn't matter.
No. You're right. If I ran as a Democrat, I would be completely unelectable. If I ran as a Trump Republican, I would probably get praised. All I need to do is suck up to Kristi Noem, and I could say that 9/11 was an in-between job, not an inside or outside. Yeah,
you got to move back to Iowa, and then when Chuck Grassley finally dies, you can fill in his very small footsteps.
Well, that dude is going to outlive me because I don't think he's a real person. I think he is largely, because I used to work for a company where Chuck Grassley was on the board, so I met him back in 2000 again to Jesus fucking Christ.
Of course you did.
And so I knew Chuck Grassley way back then, and I thought oh my God, this guy's already completely out of touch. And that was 25 years ago, and so now I just weep. to see my parents who've been fairly conservative just absolutely turn on. We don't need to turn this into a politics podcast.
It's already happened.
Yeah, I know.
United,
but, like,
we united.
yeah, yeah. But Chuck Grassley has done. I don't know. Like, I don't even understand. Like, he's
Don't
like
think too hard.
he's
He
like
doesn't.
he's Boomer Kanye. He took all of his goodwill and threw it out the window by taking anything good he did and aligning himself with the worst ideals of what we could possibly have in leadership for this country. Not that Kanye is a leader, but like all of the goodwill that he had as a genius is out the window. And now you just look at him and you just think that he's a South Park meme. That's all I get out of Chuck Grassley.
I don't want to take this show too far off the rails, but
It's already there. I've already stated
Kevin
this.
had a last call years ago where he said, "I don't think that Kanye is this musical genius that everyone seems to think that he is," and this was pre "I'm a Nazi" Kanye.
Yeah.
Like Kevin was like, "I listened to his entire catalog. He rhymes the same word with the same word over and over again. He's
Well,
masochistic. He's
to be fair, John Cougar Mellencamp also wrote an entire song where he rhymed small town with small town.
Nothing is
I wanted
no, guys, we're finally back on the rails. We're back on the rails because Tim has pulled out a John Cougar Mellencamp. He has to. I mean, you got to keep. He's been John Mellencamp for 35 years now, but you got to go to John Cougar. No, that's a Midwestern thing. That's an amazing thing. I love it. It filled me with joy to call him John Cougar Mellencamp, and also just to reference John Mellencamp.
When I was a kid, my parents used to send me to John Cougar summer camp, where everyone was from a small town, and they would die in a small town, and they only know how to rhyme small town with small town because they'll just say small town again. That entire song, he rhymes small town with small town. He needs a guy named Neil Brown who can fall down and is a tall clown. Like, he can't think of anything that rhymes with small town when I literally right now came up with three not that's Paul Brown or tall clown are good rhymes, but they're better rhymes than the exact same words you did. Anybody who rhymes a word with that exact same word?
So Kanye West and John Mellencamp equally not geniuses. That's what we've come down to.
So that was a sneak peek of our music and politics podcast. Now back to United We Drink. Kevin, what are you drinking?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I should probably let the listeners know. I am now on like hour 40 without sleep. So, in the immortal words of Charlie Kelly in It's Always Sunny, wild card bitches.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what I'm drinking now. We're gonna get back on track, but I will say that don't listen to as much of Mellencamp's earlier stuff. There's good stuff, but Human Wheels is still his best album. So we have Cooper's Hop from Omegang. It is a triple IPA that was highly recommended to me by one of the Cavalier reps. And honestly, I feel terrible because I forget his name every single time I see him because I am bad like that. I'm a terrible person in general. But I was walking through Total Wine and More, and he suggested the beer, and I picked it up, and it was absolutely delicious.
Nice. Are you having that as a backup too?
I mean, I've got a Verdant Embrace. I've also got a Fresh Squeeze by Deschutes, which is really nice. Yeah.
What about you, Tim?
So I am drinking literally one of the best German Pilsners in the entire country right now. And I say that with not again, we've talked on this podcast about the importance of awards and how big they are and how not big they are. But when you find this beer I think it recently just won a U.S. Open gold, but it has also won a GABF gold in 2024. It won a World Beer Cup gold at this last World Beer Cup for German Pilsner. It is, and it's tough for me to say because like we make some really good pilsners in this state. But Arbeiter Brewing, the Ha Ha Pils. It's called Ha Ha because it's close to Minnehaha. Um, Mike, you saw a picture of the beautiful Minnehaha Falls that I sent to you.
See,
Yeah. It is literally, if it weren't just for my own palate thinking it's one of the best things, literally the fact that in the last 6 months, this thing has won gold medal, like every single thing that's out there. And again, you know, sun shines on a dog's ass once, but this thing is consistently one of the best things. So Arbeiter, one of the best hidden gems. It's a brewery that's kind of built out of the old school Minnesota. When I say old school, I mean like late 90s, late 2000s, right? Culture here, and we can get into it a whole lot more on some other episode. But my point is it is one of the best pilsners you'll ever have, and at some point I'll have to send you guys some because they don't distribute largely. But I love this thing. I don't drink it nearly enough because there's another pilsner that I really like in town. We just have an embarrassment of riches of those things up here. So anyway, Arbeiter Brewing, German for the worker. In my neighborhood. And,
are they a union shop?
I don't think they are, but I think literally like there's like maybe like one or two production staff that aren't like part of the ownership group, so it's kind of hard to be a union shop like that.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. They're not big. I think their biggest tank is maybe
I was just
20 barrel?
when you translated the name, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
sounds like
Oh,
a very
yeah, no, they
union-"
definitely have that ethos. Like, we're a town that grew up. So aside from BSG RAR being a Twin Cities thing, right? Northern Brewer, one of the kind of the OGs of homebrew, is from here, and a lot of that there was a lot of cross pollination. Like a lot of the guys that were original at Northern Brewer and like Brewing TV guys moved over to BSG and all that stuff. And one of the owners of Arbeiter is kind of one of those original groups, and so it makes a lot of sense. And then like I want to say Aaron was at like Town Hall, which is one of the classic breweries around here. So it makes sense that we would make, the land of sky blue waters. We're gonna make ourselves. And Minnehaha, which is Lakota, that literally translates into laughing waters. I'm not even kidding. And so it makes sense that we're gonna make one of the best pilsners. And I'm very
You sent me some beers from there a few years back with a Pils from Fair State that was out of this world.
Yeah, Fair State Pils has been my favorite Pils for the longest time, and this one is even better. Yeah.
And I would also assume that a brewery up there named Uda Pils would also have a really good Pilsner as well.
Yeah. So Eric was actually their head brewer was actually a German studies major in college. So he wasn't a brewer necessarily by trade. And I want to say he was at Summit too. I don't remember where all Eric was. But we've got Shells, we've got German tradition, right? I've been trying to get Dave Berg on the pod. We're stubborn German Lutherans, which is my pedigree growing up. So we're gonna make a damn good pills. So this is a very long "What are you drinking?" opener.
I'm about to have my second Fancy Papers IPA from Cigar City. I haven't had it in a little while and was at the store today and like, hey, let me make sure that it's in code. Was a little difficult to find the packaging date on the box. I looked all over the box like 5 times, couldn't find it, put it down, and then I saw highlight right next to it where the date was on that box, and then I pulled the fancy papers box back out. And I'm like, oh, yep, there it is, right where the same place as on the highlight. And I looked at this probably 5 times. Just a night. They call it a hazy IPA, and it's definitely has some of those characteristics to it. Just a little more bitter than you would expect from that. I do want to give a shout out though to a beer that I'm gonna go get some in package relatively soon once I can find some right nearby me. But Kevin's Waypoint IPA is fucking delicious right now. I've been going to the Flanagan's by my house recently a lot because their food is stupidly cheap and good, and their beers are stupidly cheap somehow too. I don't know how they stay in business for so long as they have, but I've been drinking Waypoint over there, and it is one of the best tasting IPAs out there right now. It's just so much damn stone fruit on a really nice soft body. I have told Kevin, I have told Ralph, like directly, like, you guys are killing it with that beer. That is a fucking delicious beer. And you never know what you're gonna get at like a bar and grill draft lines, but tastes so good.
Well, that is very kind. Thank you very much, Mike. I also to break up this love fest wanna to make a point that I think we should continue talking about anything but our topic so we can get the farthest into an episode in the history of United We Drink before we bring up the topic and win some kind of medal or trophy.
Well,
yeah, we're at 15 minutes in.
So Kevin, I don't know if you understand. I know that we do a lot of, so listeners, we do a lot of due diligence on this program to come up with the content that we give you. We don't just throw some shit into Chat GPT and just spit out whatever it is.
At least not after the last 2 weeks.
We actually spend a lot of time like whiteboarding and like talking about like what we're going, like what we want. We've got an entire like brand calendar for the next year of what our podcast topics are going to be. We care a lot. So yeah, no, this is mostly filler because tonight's episode is
my kids took the eraser to my whiteboard and erased all the stuff that I had written down and just drew a bunch of scribbles. And I was like, shit, what did I have written down there?
Well, you know what the problem is that you just didn't understand that your kids are geniuses and they were actually solving like some mathematical theorem that you didn't understand. You just thought it looked like scribbles.
That is probably true. I mean, if one of them saves us from this downward spiral that our society is going through, I will be so happy. If the other one does, I will be fucking surprised.
That is the nicest way I've heard a dad call out having a faith.
I had a joke lined up there, not as good as that one. I can't say it now. Thanks a lot, Mike.
You're welcome. All right, so we wanted to talk a little bit about like I feel like we don't get enough episodes about marketing. Like we talk a lot about beer styles, brewing, even like just the general like market and how shit is out there, but we don't talk specifics of marketing all that often. So Kevin had a great story that caused this to kind of get into motion. So I'll let him start off by telling this story.
So I want to start off by saying I'm not going to give all the information about this situation because it's still ongoing, and I have a lot of respect for the people that I've been working with in these organizations, and I don't want to put their information out there. But I can share enough to say that, as a brewery that's been around for 10 years, we have, we have a lot of buy-in in the, local area. And we've been approached multiple times. This is a specific time now, but in the past we've been talked to, and it's not because we're special or anything, but we've just been around. So we will get a phone call when a stadium is looking to get some buy-in from a local brewery to bring their beer into the stadium. And a lot of people don't realize that it's not just who you know and what you know, it's how much money you're willing to spend. Because going into a large stadium, and I'm not even talking about baseball stadiums or basketball stadiums or football stadiums. I'm talking about small concert venues. I'm talking about college football. I'm talking about like anywhere where there's a lot of people congregating. They don't just go, I'd like to have this IPA, please, because I really like this beer. No, they say, how much money is this worth to you? Not to sell the beer to me, but what's the marketing worth to you? So there is a dollar amount for every single one of these big venues. There's also a dollar amount to lots of big chains, which gets a little bit sticky. I won't get into all that. We can talk about that maybe another time. But some of these big venues, there's a dollar amount attached to it. And it's really interesting as a small brewery in this area being kind of courted and talked to about this, because the dollar amounts that they throw out are massive. I mean, the amount of money that we're talking about is not money you can recoup through sales. Sometimes it's only 10% of you would get back in profitability from this relationship. And there's a lot of breweries that are national breweries and maybe really large local breweries that can spend those kind of dollars. But it becomes kind of bridging that gap and going from the position of being a small brewery trying to grow and get visibility to spend, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to get on this major platform. It's a really big gamble. And I'll throw this out there as examples that are not from my brewery. So, and these are in the past. There was a brewery called Miami Brewing Company, not MIA, which a lot of people would confuse those two things together if you're an old school local Florida guy. But they sponsored,
Which I am.
which you are, and you're followed by all of them. But they sponsored the Marlins at one point. And I think, Mike, you told me, what was the other thing that you saw that they sponsored early on?
They were, if not the first, one of the first craft sponsors for the Panthers with their big bar that they have in their arena. It was like a brand new, big, beautiful bar area in the concourse area, and they were the sponsor for that, I think, the first year that it existed.
So, and this is a brewery that I don't think exists anymore, but they went big early on, trying to be. Yeah, I know Tim's shocked, but they went
with the tens of eyes of a Florida Marlins fan base.
But they spent all this money to be the sponsor and to have their signage up in the arena and have their beer available, and hoping that would translate into massive sales in the market around it. And it just didn't. And we have these large regional and national breweries that are doing these deals for, stadiums and things that are completely outside of their typical regional area, and dropping these kind of dollars. And I just threw out a couple numbers to you guys at $250,000, other things like $50,000, with the return on investment being, 10% of what it is, and trying to count on those marketing dollars being spent as being something that really props up your brewery. But the big rub there is that, are you in enough places that kind of visibility is going to help you? And I feel like we're in a situation now in the market where we're so top heavy and bottom heavy. There's like 10 breweries that can do this, and like 5,000 breweries where if they did this would be a losing proposition. And it's almost as if the market in these arenas and things like that don't know what they want because they're trying to ask for Budweiser dollars for Bob's Brewery on the corner. And it's just not going to happen.
So, first off, I have some terrible news for you and everyone else, Kevin. Miami Brewing Company still exists.
Terrible.
Still open.
Christ.
I just looked it up. Still there.
I haven't seen a
Um,
beer from them in 10 years.
You mean to tell me you haven't seen a Big Rod out there lately?
No. No, I have not.
They still make that fucking beer.
Where?
I don't know, but they're advertising Memorial Day weekend on their tap room, so they are absolutely open. For those of you who also don't know about them, they are owned by a winery, and they are also not in Miami. They are in Homestead, which is the sticks.
I think they actually pronounce it a wienery there. They don't even pronounce it winery. I think
When
I'm pretty
you're
sure
talking about Big Rod, yes, I believe that is how it is. But that last part is like the ding 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 yes to it, Kevin, is that these places come into conversations with small craft breweries and they it's like they know that, hey, you're small, you're local, but they're asking for big top dollar from you as if you are Budweiser. I know that there's probably people there who are like, these guys are small. They can't afford that. We can ask. Maybe they'll say yes. And there's probably they probably keep on asking that because they do get people who say yes. They got Miami Brewing Company many years ago to say yes to that. They got Funky Buddha to say yes to that. Now I think that was during Constellation ownership days, but still, like, now, continuing to ask those prices, it is silly for us. We can laugh at that, but they're going to ask for it if they keep on getting people on the hook for it. Someone might be desperate enough to be like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. We can increase our sales X amount. They just, it's a lifeline to some places.
It's a very expensive lifeline.
Yeah,
it is a very expensive. So first of all, one of the things that I'll say is and we kind of talked about this before we got on the pod. And I worked, in the marketing departments at Best Buy and at Buffalo Wild Wings, so I'm not going to pretend like we didn't take advantage of these things. But the biggest bullshit term in all of marketing is number of impressions. Because everyone loves to say number of impressions. How many eyes did you get in front of? How many people saw this? How many people interacted? None of that means that translates to sales. Not a single goddamn thing translates to sales. But marketers love to, so say I'm a guy who, designs some logos, does some really great photography for maybe a small, brewery in, say, I don't know, random state like Florida. And I really want to get my stuff in front of a lot of eyeballs. There's ways to do that. But turning that into sales, I'm just waiting for Mike to just give me the bird. But the reality is man, I went to business school, right? I understand the importance of marketing, but it does all turn into a little bit of a, what are you really trying to get? Because I used to work for a brewery that used to be one of the original brands at US Bank Stadium when that opened, right before the Super Bowl was here in Minneapolis. It was a big deal, and that brewery no longer exists because name, everyone still knows what Kmart is. They're not a thing anymore. Name recognition is not the same thing as being profitable, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges is when people always talk about, oh, but we're gonna get you in front of so many people and like whatever. And that's and like, don't get me wrong, like I'm very sympathetic to it. Like Kevin, earlier when you brought up this topic, you were talking about like actually trying to put dollar amounts, like actually trying to put numbers to that. That's not an easy calculus, no matter how much any MBA will tell you this is the way you figure that out. It's not an easy calculus. And so now you have to figure out, yeah, great.
Well,
Everyone knows who I am, but is that actually going to translate to sales?
Well, I'm gonna steal something from Kevin here, because he mentioned this before we went on air. But like, okay, I say you are there. People see your brand. They have your beer there. Well, then they want to go look for it. Can they find your beer around the area? Like, can they go outside? Like, say you're in an area where there's bars and restaurants all around outside of the stadium. Can they go to a place outside there and find your beer on tap? Can they find a 6-pack at their local grocer? Maybe, maybe not. If you have a good spread of your product across the market, maybe something like that works for you. But if there's like a Publix across the street from you, or like 10 bars within a block of the stadium and none of them have you on draft, how really helpful is that to you?
Well, to me, and I've been saying this since day one in trying to operate a brewery, is that it all comes down to ubiquity. And if you are ubiquitous in any region, so let's just say for us, Boca Raton, we're in Boca Raton. If you can go into any mom and pop operation, restaurant, retail outlet, whatever it is, and find our beer, then marketing in that area is really powerful because you can't get away from it. It's always there. So spending marketing dollars, whether it's a billboard for us on I-95 off of Congress Road, could be really valuable to us. If you're not ubiquitous, if you're still kind of niche, none of that makes any sense. Because what people will do is they will go to their easiest outlet for craft beer. That's a Publix. And by the way, we're in several of them, but there's 60 in Boca. I'm exaggerating. Maybe there's 12. Maybe there's 20. I can't remember exactly. But
I got it right here. It's 67.2. There's like, apparently there's one that's only half open.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. He's always on the ball there. But if you're only in a third of them, someone will go in, they'll try to buy it, they won't see it, they'll never look for it again. So when you have a brand, if you're Sierra Nevada and you're in every single grocery store set, if you are available in pretty much every bar and restaurant, not local small bars and restaurants, but chains, yes, it makes a lot of sense to put $200,000 or whatever it is down on marketing, but you can't do that when you're the local guy who's not that much available. But I do want to say this. I understand where all these people are coming from these giant venues, because they're trying to maximize profitability. And they're saying, this is worth something. We have an asset, and we're going to leverage that asset as best as we can to get another revenue center. We need to buy beer, and we're going to make a lot of money off this beer. I mean, that nobody be confused about that. When they buy these cases of beer and these kegs, they are going to make a boatload off of it. But they can also say, well, having it here is a asset to you, so now pay me for that privilege. That's smart. I would do that if I was the person in charge of that. I'm sorry, 1 second, Tim. When you're a fan of craft beer and you're like, why can't I get my favorite craft beer in this local concert venue or this local, giant, whatever, amphitheater? That's the reason. Because there's more to it than just having a great beer and being well liked in the area. It's how much money you put up.
So Kevin, and I'm going to try to figure out how to parse this out into multiple things throughout the episode, because you one of my favorite things about you is you can say 3 sentences and I get 7 different things out of it. Like you always find a very good way of saying one thing that makes me think of 3 different things. But
I
in
make
this
things
partic-
more confusing, which is my superpower.
Well, it is. No, so it reminds me, and so Mike, I want to ask you this question, right? And it was a bigger deal, I think, maybe 5 years ago, but it's still a big deal. So freelance marketing work, right? Design work. Oh, we can't pay you much, but you know what you get? You'll get a lot of exposure. You'll get a lot of exposure. That is what beer is in these scenarios here. Is they say that it's a lot of exposure, but
Yeah,
but
and we're
but you
15
know what?
years
Exposure's
into the
a
craft beer thing, and that's still happening.
Yeah, and you're like great. You know, it's kind of like, hey, it's very much akin to the whole oh man, we make beer for the passion. And I'm like, yeah, cool. My mortgage company doesn't let me pay my bills in passion. Like you don't get to pay your own bills in exposure. Like that is not the big thing. So like Mike, you've been through this. I know you have. You and I have talked about this. People that want to underpay you, right? So a brand that wants it's even worse in this scenario, right? They want you to front money to get exposure. But what does that mean? Mike, I'm sure you can already think of a couple examples where people are like, oh, well, I can't pay you what you're worth, but we have a large reach and a lot of people will see this. That's not worth your time.
No, and you know, like when you are new to a thing, you're more inclined to do, I guess, pro bono work for exposure, right?
Oh,
But
we're going Latin now. Look at how fancy we are.
we have problems with language on this this podcast. Last episode we were debating about Bruges, and Kevin's dad in the comments corrected us on spellings of the city of Bruges.
Yeah,
Shout out to him.
shout out to all 3 of our people who consume our podcast over YouTube, which I
So
assume is Kevin's dad and Kevin's dad who forgot his login on his other device.
I if I ever hear a marketing person go, the exposure you'll get, I will go fucking berserk. Like
Yeah.
that line needs to be dropped from your lexicon of your bullshit that you put out to people. Like I get that your pitches a lot of times are going to be bullshit, but that's one that just needs to fucking go away. Like yes, we understand that marketing, or at least I do. I mean, I do have sometimes issues with explaining to people that there is no measurable ROI on marketing, but like we understand that marketing dollars go towards marketing that does not see direct ROI on it. I get that, but you don't have to put it out there in that way all the time because it sounds fucking insulting. Because it does almost sound like you're doing this for free for us.
It's super patronizing, but then also like you think about the biggest marketers in the entire world. The biggest marketers in the entire world right now. Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Biggest marketers in the entire world. Are they marketing for exposure? Is there a single goddamn person who's going to eat McDonald's or get a Coke that doesn't know that McDonald's and Coke exist?
But
No, that's not what marketing really is. And so many of these businesses, whether they be sports venues or concert venues or whatever, think that what they're giving you is more eyes. But the best marketers in the world are telling a story about their brand. They're keeping their brand fresh. They're keeping their brand in front of eyes. It's not exposure. It's selling an entire story. And I think that's the other thing that's a problem.
But I think, Mike, what you just said is really, really important. It's top of mind. Like, what is the place that you're thinking about today when you're going out to grab a quick bite? Is it McDonald's? when you go in to grab a soda at the grocery store or whatever it is, or the
RC
gas
Cola.
station.
RC Cola.
Royal Crown, that's the tops. I'm with you.
I go RC Cola and Hardee's. I think those are kind of the first things that come to mind for me. So
good, and I'm with you. I'm with you. But we're iconoclasts. We go against the mainstream. But no, I want to make sure that, like, giving some balance to this idea. This is what we get as breweries when we want to play in the big sandbox, because Budweiser and Miller and all these giant brands have been doing this for decades, and they've been paying these amounts of money to be the sponsor. And if you are the pizza sponsor I was going to say for the Detroit Tigers, but it's owned by the Illich family, who owns Little Caesars, which absolutely provides the pizza for the stadium. But if you are going to be that concessionaire for that stadium, you're going to pay a pretty penny to do it. These are massive, massive companies. What happens with us is we are small fish trying to swim in that pond. And we are going to be subject to the same rules. They're not going to look at us and go, oh, well, you're an upstart, young, small company, so we're going to cut you a deal, and we're going to get you in on the ground floor. We're not going to make you pay this much, because they'll say, well, someone else will pay us this money. So if we're going to stick to capitalism, this is what's going to happen. If we're going to maximize profitability, this was going to happen. When I went through this, is talking to the people that I've talked to about these kind of deals over the years, and it's more than one. I haven't walked away going, these guys are pricks because they're asking me for this money. I'm saying, well, this system's kind of broken, because the consumer is not telling you what they want. You're saying, I'm going to gatekeep this because this is a profit center. If we're mad about that, let's be mad about that. Don't be upset about the marketing, because Budweiser and Miller decided a long time ago that being the exclusive, macro lager at the Marlin Stadium is a good marketing move, and everyone else just has to follow suit.
So a couple of things that made me think about, right? So like Minnesota Twins. Home Run Porch, the Budweiser deck, right? Budweiser has
I actually have Target Fields bars and restaurants up here because I wanted to talk about their sponsors.
right. And Surly has a good presence there. Summit has a good presence there. There are a lot of other small breweries that have a presence there. But we have Shells and Surly and Summit, and there's a Budweiser deck. There's no connection to the state of Minnesota there, right? And I know, like me, the I don't even know what the right word is. Like the guy that really wants to just have like a connection to the state there. Like, they're not gonna pay the money that Target Field, and it's super ironic, right? Because like Target, I know they're certainly in a screwed area right now, and they're losing a lot of money for recent decisions. But like, Target Center, Target Field, like Target makes this town, right?
So let me just list off the named bar and restaurant areas by brands, because there's stuff that's named that have like Urbex, like that's not a brand, but unless Kent Urbeck is a brand.
I've met the dude. He will sell you anything. I mean,
he sold. There's
he sold pulling Ron Gant off of first base as him not being on base. So the dude can sell anything. But yeah,
there's Truly on deck. So Truly, Boston Beer Company.
Yep.
Cutwater Cocktail Bar, which is AB's one of their seltzer brands.
Yep.
There is the Budweiser Roof Deck. There's Surfside, which is a Philadelphia iced tea seltzer company. And Grey Duck Deck, which is actually a Minnesota spirits brand that I looked up. What?
I used to make their seltzer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, back in the day, so they had the Grey Duck vodka, and they wanted to spin off Grey Duck seltzer, and they wanted to find a place to do it. So we actually made it for a brief period of time.
So those are the branded places in there, and you got all of one like actual local place in there.
Yeah, when I literally see a Budweiser deck, or like, it's not so much at the Wild anymore, but there used to be like a big lining Kugels influence here in town, which we're probably closer to Chippewa Falls than I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, the way that all of that marketing goes, yeah, none of those are brands that are local trying to make a name for themselves, right? Truly did not sponsor that because they went, oh, I bet we can convince people to drink Truly because they've never heard of it. That's not what that is, right?
But it doesn't need to be. It comes down to being top of mind and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
reinforcing. And when you are everywhere, and when you're Truly, you're everywhere.
Yeah.
And that is something that they can attach some kind of, even if it's a fictional ROI, they can attach it to that. And when you have companies that big, they have entire divisions of the company dedicated to their sponsorships and their marketing dollars and where they're going to divert those dollars to. Listen, in a perfect world, we would have some of these local, let's just start out like the Dolphins, right? Miami Dolphins have been the institution down here in South Florida forever. If you look at the Heat, I mean, to me, still feels like a relatively new franchise because they were an expansion team in my lifetime. But if you want to look at like who's been Miami strong for the longest time for the sports teams, you're looking at the Dolphins.
I don't know why you don't have Eric Spoelstra come do a brew day with you guys. Speaking of the Heat.
I don't know either, but I'm going to keep on with the thing I was saying. You'd ideally want them to say, "Hey, we have an area open for local to like get a foothold in here. We're going to get all your Budweiser money or your Miller money or your Coors money, whatever it is. We're going to get that. But we want to prop up local, and we want to give them an opportunity, even if they rotated it from year to year." That sounds like a great initiative that you could actually, if you're the team, market that and say, hey, we're going to do this because we want to support local and we want to like kind of bring this up. But that's just not the way this works. I mean, we are not talking about organizations that pride themselves on being local and supporting small businesses. Where is that ever been declared in any of these companies' statements? They are maximizing profits. That's it.
I mean, I would even argue that like craft beer that is leaned so much on local as being a marketing term, which is also a bullshit term, right? Right. Like I can give you local hemlock. It doesn't mean that I can give you free range, cage free, artisanal hemlock. It's not good for you, right?
Oh,
Like
last year's batch was so much better.
Yeah,
batch one was best.
Right. So and this is a brand that has come and gone and whatever, but was a big deal for a while. Crispin cider, right?
I loved Crispin.
Crispin was a huge deal. That was when they were launching, they were like a mile away from me. They were a tiny little thing. And when they quote unquote sold out, to our listeners, I'm doing air quotes. I should probably just call that out. I feel like in Instagram, if you explain a picture, quote unquote sold out to Miller Coors. It was Miller Coors, right? Yeah, it was Miller Coors.
Yeah.
Everyone in that community shit on them for selling out. But you know what? If I weren't in craft beer and hanging my hat on local, and I had sold something to 3M, right? My silent Velcro or whatever, like that thing from Garden State or what I think. No one would say, "Oh man, they sold out." They would say, "Local boy does good."
Congratulations. Yeah.
Right? Like beer sort of put themselves in this place. They put
Yeah.
themselves in this place by doubling down on. And again, I think the future of craft beer is in smaller, more localized brewers. I think the breweries that are going to succeed right now understand their small footprint. They understand what they own. But the idea that they sold in on that local is the only thing that's marketing, they've shut the door to a lot of these other things as well. Is it
You know,
is that fair? Like, I mean, Kevin, I saw you raise
yeah.
an eyebrow.
So I I want to jump in here. First, I really want to quickly say, Crispin Cider is the first place that I ever interviewed for as an industry job for a sales rep position for them back
Really?
in 2010, 2011. Yeah.
I loved Crispin.
Uh,
I,
yes. That's why
I got to know one of the Crispin founders when I was at Dashfire, who is now
some of the best cider.
yeah. Yep.
But so this whole thing is so hilarious because when we're talking about craft breweries playing in the corporate world, sponsorships, and when we look back at what the core ethos for craft brewing used to be, was the separating ourselves as far away from the macro stuff as possible. We are not like them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do this, we don't do that. And just look at how much closer we want to be as an industry with them now. Like, we're making light lagers. We've been doing that for years now after making fun of the fizzy yellow beer.
We're making seltzers.
We're making seltzers.
Flavored malt beverages.
We are trying to get chain activations. We are trying to get into grocery stores. We are trying to get now sponsorships. We are trying to now play in their playground that we said we didn't want to be a part of for better part of a decade. And you know what? They can laugh at us as much as they want, and we kind of deserve it.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
And because if these places want to go like, oh, you want to come in here? This is how much it is. Well, AB did it. How about you? Like, we have no one to blame but ourselves, really, for a lot of this stuff. But
sorry, go ahead.
But there is workarounds with some of these things. You can negotiate. It's not like, what harm is there in saying no, but we could offer this. I don't know the exact dollar amounts that happened for this, but we had a sponsorship deal that we did for an event probably like 3-4 months ago. Garlic Fest. It's a big garlic related festival that happens down here every year. They approached us
immediately with like Makeout Fest, right? Because everyone wants to make out with someone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. That is every day of Garlic Fest after the gates close, Makeout Fest begins. But they approached us about being the official craft sponsor of the festival, and we're like, okay, how much do you want? And they threw out a dollar amount, and we're like, well, how much beer did the official sponsor sell last year? And they were like, well, there was this much, but one of the days it rained. So like, we're like, well, we're not going to do that. And we came back with a dollar amount, and we said, we'll do it for this much. And they said, okay, we'll do that. And it was, it was a shot in the dark. Who knows? They could have told us to fuck off, and that would have been fine. But we threw something out there to them. They said yes. They brought in a good amount of beer. They sold a good amount of beer. They didn't return a whole lot, because that's a thing that they can do, is as long as it wasn't a tapped keg or a case that was broken, they could return it to the distributor. So there was not a whole lot of return on that. And we thought of that as a decent success. It was a little bit of exposure to us, especially in the location where it was at. We had gotten into some Publixes up in that town, at that time. So it looked at as a strategic thing for like, okay, people can see it. They're serving it in cans and kegs. They get a can. Oh, they might be like, oh, let me look for this at my local Publix, and they would see it there. So it was a strategic thing that worked out well, and we threw out a number, and they said yes. So I know that a lot of times a venue might not be like if they were, for example, to say, hey, $150,000, I'll give you five. I don't know how much they'll move on that, but you know what? You sometimes the confidence and just being like, this is what we'll do might make some people be like, all right, cool. I'll work with that.
No, I do. I like that. Like, so, okay, two things I got out of that. One was that the plural of Publix is Publixes. Is that how you guys
It's not
say that?
Publi or
It's not. No, it's not Publi. That's 100% true.
Oh, I would have
Publix
been.
is
I would have gone Publi like muesli.
Publi. The Publi.
But
it's
but,
their own brand of bubbly.
So Jesus. So as much as I shit on the idea of doing something for exposure, I don't want to discount the importance of exposure. People can't know your brand until they know your brand. Right? Like that feels like a self-evident thing. I just hate when people feel like that's the only thing you're going to get out of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, right, and in certain scenarios, maybe literally just getting your name out there, right? Like maybe just literally throwing flyers outside of a airplane over a metro area is the way you get your brand name known. Like that's not an unimportant thing. I guess for me, when you talk about those things, yeah, there are good ways to do it, and there are smart ways to do it. My biggest challenge is I feel like so, and I've seen this not even in beer, but just in any other, like I was at Buffalo Wild Wings, like literally the nation's largest sports bar chain, and we would hire these marketing firms, and they would throw out these grand ideas, and we'd be like, "Yeah, no, we didn't hire you for like this. No offense, Mike. I was a design major. I was in marketing. Marketers love to masturbate all over like
But you know what?
campaigns.
It's kind of reaffirming to hear that you worked for a big company and a firm came in and pitched stuff to you, and you're like, "This is fucking stupid. What do you think?" Because Kevin and I have talked many times about when firms have come to us with pitches on stuff, and we're like, "Do you even know what the fuck who you're talking to with
Yeah.
this stuff?" So it's kind of nice that someone would come into Buffalo Wild Wings and go, "All right, I got a pitch for you. Hear me out here."
Yeah. Christopher Walken and Jesus
Paper.
Christ are playing chess, and like something stupid like that. But like so, okay, so sort of a microcosm of all this. Back at the stupid archaic laws of Minnesota, it said anyone producing more than 20,000 barrels a year can't sell beer to go. They can't sell growlers. They can't sell whatever. And one of the guys that was a big supporter of Badger Hill back in the day was a state representative for Shakopee, and he brought in a bunch of his fellow legislators for a little tour. And there was an agenda there. I'm not going to pretend like there wasn't. But we were trying to get to the point where we could start to do more off sale as breweries. And I talked about how, the whole, 20,000 barrel limit is stupid, whatever. And I was like, it's a red herring. You're missing the things that are the big profit centers for all of the small businesses. And I remember one of the legislators, like literally a congressman, said to me, "But don't you think once you hit like 20,000 barrels, you should compete with the big boys?" And I just almost peed my pants laughing. And I was like, you have no clue how big AB InBev is compared to the largest craft brewer in the United States. Right? That's like saying, hey, isn't making $20 an hour just the same thing as making $10 million a year? Like you don't like their absolute cluelessness. So advertising agencies, like we said, completely out of touch with who the customer is, or like who the consumer is that they're trying to market for or market to, and the company they're trying to market for. Out of touch with both of those. But the challenge is that Joe Sixpack around the country is also completely out of touch with. No, that's just not the reality. Like craft beer would do better to market more of the reality than the dream or the whatever. Because now you've got all of these marketing agencies coming in on the dream. And those are the things. And I think that's the struggle is they think, Kevin, they come to you. Oh, craft beers are hot. You must be making money hand over fist. And let me tell you about all of these things that we can do. And you're like, you are so far off of the mark. You think that you're making I guarantee you that congressman thought he was making a really aha comment to me of, don't you think 20,000 barrels is a good cutoff? And I was like, it's literally like $20,000 a year versus like $1 billion a year. It's the exact same math.
You're a couple
really
of
not
orders of
get that?
magnitude off. You're a couple
Yeah.
of orders of magnitude off of when
Yeah.
you can actually start competing with them. I mean, at the end of the day, Mike, I think you said something like we kind of did this to ourselves. The big thing is public perception. Public perception is they see craft beer, whatever you want to deem that to be. If you want to say that's Goose Island, if you want to say it's Sierra Nevada, if you want to say it's Sam, you want to say it's your local brewery down the corner. In that grocery store set, and you say they're doing it, they're on equal footing. And even I love what Tim said, like even the biggest craft brewery, the biggest conglomeration of craft brewers, if you like, that are making great beer, they pale in comparison. And the public perception is just not that. And the other businesses that support and buy our beer do not have a good understanding of what we do, how we do it, how we make our money. And they never will, because it's not their job. They're never going to know that. They just see a draft line and someone's going to fill it and they're going to get the top dollar for it. The marketing companies, we have clients paid this much money. They're not going to give a discount to a small local craft brewery because they have a limited reach and they can't sell their. One of my favorite things was we had a company saying, we have this great online model where we can help you sell your beer online. And I said, well, you know, we can't do that legally, right? And they just stared and they said, oh, you can't sell your beer online? No. Oh, okay.
Yesterday, I had someone reach out to me. They're a marketing company, and they're like, "We're hosting a party at like some apartment complex. Like it's a party for all of the residents of the apartment complex with barbecue and all this at a pool party, and we want you to come in and do a sampling. We'll buy the product, but we need you to be here to do the sampling. Like, we legally cannot do that. Like, Florida state law says that samplings can only happen on licensed premises, being liquor stores, restaurants, bars, a place that has a license to sell alcohol. And they're like, we've been doing these for months now. Like, I'm not going to speak of what other breweries are doing, but here is the statute that says that that is not a legal thing to do. They're like, well, let me pick your brain. What if it's a pop-up on a beach? A beach is not a licensed premise.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of our two most popular podcasts of all time, in AI, where AI suggested things that are totally doable. Like Kevin, you're working on an app right now, right? Like you and your team are definitely working on an app.
Barrel amongst dollars, you're going to be able to redeem them for all kinds of amazing points
all
and things
of
of
the
that nature.
loyalty programs
bucks.
and all of that. Like, well, because like marketing has already been about like a bunch of bullshit things that didn't fail, but now you're just letting bots also do that stuff. So yeah, like we talked about like the last episode or two about like how, hey, sure, neat idea, can't fucking happen, right? And so now even we were only relying on AI, but you now have this whole generation of marketers who now think the AI is also giving you a brilliant thing. But yeah, you're right. You can't like neat idea. I can't execute that. Give me something I could execute and then show me that. So yeah, Mike, that's a huge point.
Yeah,
All I want to say, Mike, is can you send them my email, because I'll go there and pour some beer at their spot.
Sure thing, Kevin. I'll also send a quick email to the Florida ABT.
If the Florida ABT is
Monster.
anything like the Minnesota ABG, it literally depends on who shows up. So, yeah. You're either going to be in prison or sainted. I think basically is how.
We used to have I know Kevin used to deal with him sometimes. A guy named Rob, who was our tax guy at the state for the longest time. I don't know if he's still there anymore.
He might have gotten like promoted or something like that.
Nicest guy, but could never just shut up. Like he could make a conversation last for hours, but he he is the official representative of the state alcohol board, and we'd ask him questions about like, oh, how do we want to go about doing something like this, and he'd like, I don't know. Like I need to check in with my my boss. I've never dealt with that before. But it's
Hey, no, I want to give a shout out because I haven't been to CBC in a couple of years, but every time I've gone to CBC, you know what the saddest booth is? The TTB booth. Oh my god, that is the saddest, because they don't even want to be there because they know that no one is coming up to like, hey, you guys are doing a great job. Give me a squishy ball. This is the best thing. Like it's a bunch of people who like. It feels like the DMV for breweries. Right?
I 1 year went by that booth and I saw there used to be in the early days of craft, there was one person who handled label approvals. His name was Battle Martin. And it was just one guy. And he was at the booth with his laptop doing label approvals, sitting there while he had a couple other people that would talk to people there. And if they needed any actual questions, they'd be like, he can answer that. And you're like, like look away for a second, answer the question, and go right back to label approvals. No.
Sorry, I was going to say, you bring up a really good point, though, is that even the best...
I did?
Well, you did, yeah. Yeah, believe it or not, I actually listened to you, Mike. Even the best intended ideas, like, man, you could come up with the world's great... Right? Like, you're right. If I could invent a time machine, that would be perfect. You haven't given me the information on how to build a time machine. You're saying, okay, here's our pitch. You build a time machine, and then this and this and this happen. And I'm like, okay, but you missed the biggest thing. And I think that's one of the things that marketing.
Kill baby Hitler. Damn it.
Oh, I'm not gonna. Oh, never mind. I had a whole other joke. I'm not even gonna go there. It's gonna be terrible. So when Kevin talks about these things about, and honestly, like things you've done the due diligence, right? You haven't just gone, no way. Certainly there are plenty of things you're like, they don't work. There have been some opportunities given to you at Barrel Monks, right, Kevin? You've gone, Shit, maybe we got to consider this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Well, we evaluate everything. I mean, the conversations I talked about earlier, on the surface, they don't make a lot of sense for us. But we go down that road, we run the numbers, and we have internal conversations and say, are we missing something? Is there something to be had here? And if you're doing your job well, you have to entertain these ideas. You have to take them to their full conclusion and then say, no, this isn't going to work. You have to be willing to do both. One, go down the road and say no. And two, say, we're going to swing the bat sometimes.
So like your partner's letting you be on this podcast is basically just swinging the bat, right? Like,
no one that works with me has ever listened to this podcast except for Ralph. So
I was gonna say that's literally not true. I know that Ralph has listened to this.
I said except for Ralph. I qualified that. But no, I think it's important. I mean, you need to evaluate these things, and every now and then, like I just said, I think you have to take a big swing, and you have to find some kind of parameters that allow you to evaluate the success of a project. And most of the time, there's nothing. There's no way to evaluate it. But if you find if I found, and I've said this to marketers who have cold called me, I'm saying, if you can guarantee I'm going to make $1 million off of this, I'll give you $750,000 right now. I'll give it to you. I'll write a check. Promise me you can do that. Can you do it? No, you can't? Well, then fuck off. Like, we're willing to spend the money if you can actually show the results of what's going to happen. It's just that most of the time you can't show any results, and you can say, well, we're going to get you all these impressions. Do you see this slideshow behind you? And it's going to be impressive impressions. And then people are going to click on a site, and then nebulously you're going to have money. It's almost like the underpants gnome from South Park. You know what I mean? First we collect underpants,
question mark, profit,
then profit. That is to me marketing 101.
Okay, so and Mike, I know you're like biting here, and I want to ask you this question too, but I'm going to ask this question of Kevin, since he kind of broached the topic of a big swing. 2-part question. Big swing that you took that paid off. Big swing that you took that you, and you don't have to be specific about companies or whatever, but like big swing that paid off, and big swing that just was absolutely swinging for the fences and your pants fell around your ankles or at home plate.
I don't think we've taken any big swings that have been really. We brought on a marketer, like we paid somebody, an individual person, to be like an in-house marketing person. That was a big failure. That was just a waste of money. We never saw a return on investment on that, and we just threw money down the toilet. It was a good person. I really liked that person as a human being, but they were not the right person for the job, didn't understand the job, and never gave us. I don't think we made one extra dollar because they were there, and we just poured money in a black hole. We have paid marketing dollars into certain distribution aspects. I'm not going to go too much farther into that.
I told you have to be specific. Just like we've played
some marketing dollars into a distribution channel that sounded like a lot of money, that has returned that investment significantly. And that was something that some of the partners were not geeked up on, didn't think it was a good idea, but the evaluation has been a very, very profitable endeavor. So yeah, we've done both.
So Mike, same question for you.
So I'll start off with the miss because this one I was thinking about earlier because it was related to a sponsorship deal, and it was at the previous brewery. We were offered the opportunity to be the official craft beer of a brand new minor league, or not minor league, sorry, spring training facility in West Palm Beach that was going to be is the spring training facility for the Astros and the Nationals. We negotiated with them. We agreed on a price, and the idea was that we were going to be the only craft beer on tap in the entire stadium for spring training. They didn't have any minor league.
Only craft beer.
Yes,
That's a swing.
at least that's what I recall. I mean, maybe
that's a
someone
swing.
can correct me. I don't know. But
that's a swing, especially for you guys at Adolf Mussolini Stadium. Like, that's a big swing.
no. It's definitely Trash Can Bang Bang Stadium. But it is. So we had that agreed upon thing. We were also supposed to have they have 2 private club level suites that were supposed to be branded towards our brewery, and then 1 particular bar branded towards our brewery. And this whole stadium was very very Florida construction, like running tight on a deadline. Like, this place was barely functioning on the opening day when the first game was being played, and we went there for opening day, and they had none of our beer on tap at any of the places that it was supposed to be. The bar that we were supposed to have fully branded towards us was not even finished being built. There was all the drafts were Budweiser, and here's the kicker. Our distributor was the AB distributor, so they were like, the distributor just put those kegs on in those places. Like, they knew that we're the sponsor here. They should be putting our kegs on at these places, and they didn't. The suites, we had 1 suite that had a sign up in there, and then first pitch of the brand new stadium, fouled off back behind home plate and bounces and hits the owner of our brewery. It was prophetic at best. That was an absolutely terrible deal. The stadium admitted that they kind of like, oh, we dropped the ball here. They fucked us. And we didn't go back the following season. So yeah, that was a huge swing and a huge miss, literally because it was a baseball stadium. But as for hits, I don't think we had any real big swings and hits. Like, we've had some, I would say, some bunts that got on base, maybe some infield singles here and there, maybe even a ground rule double.
Yeah,
but
we're
pass
leaning
ball first base.
hard,
leaning
hard in the baseball metaphor.
Kevin was very beat around the bush on stuff with distribution. I will say that there were some things with our current distributor at Copperpoint that that has worked out really well for us, for things that I don't think we would have thought worked well, with doing temporary price reductions, like discounts or buy-ins on stuff that we have to actually pay. We split the price on that discount with the distributor, so we have to eat some of our profit there. But being able to do TPRs that allow places to bring in our beer for cheaper for a period of time, and then they can sell for cheaper. Like, we're, as of recording this, we're in the midst of one with Publix right now, to where our beers are on sale at their locations because of that. That sort of stuff, I think,
They're
are
every
good.
Public Xenium. which I think is actually the official. Yeah.
The Publai. I think stuff like that has been beneficial, and they were things that, like, at my previous brewery, or even at the early days of me being at Copper Point, were things that we'd be like, I don't know about that. Us having to pay for something like that, or buy back, or take a hit on our profit on stuff like that. I think stuff like that has really worked.
I mean, and to be fair, like breweries are notoriously cheap, and not in like necessarily 100% bad way, right? But like the reason why brewers get paid shit is because we built our backs of the industry on
Affordable luxury.
volunteers. Well, we did it with volunteers, people who were working for beer, and it's like cool. I have my daughter's insurance to pay for, so
It's
like the reason why like brewers are underpaid, like so many things, is that we did do some of those things. So I certainly get where some of that comes from. I think for me,
We're also an industry with a high overhead of entry, that has some of the tightest margins
yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Like, we're fucked from the start, really.
But again, people don't see that, right? So as
Yeah.
much as as much as my example of a legislator thinking that 20,000 barrels is the same thing as competing with an Anheuser Busch, you're at I even knew like restaurant owners that thought like, oh well, I'm getting cut up by these breweries because they don't have the overhead. I'm like, no, they've got twice the overhead that you do. You don't understand that not only is like, first of all, anyone who's going into packaging right now is like, I'll just say, you're a fucking moron. The margins are so razor thin. If you're gonna try to go into that, and now you're gonna have to try to do it with everything else, like, what? Do you not like money? Right?
well to possibly
I like
we'll see
money.
we'll see what you guys have to say about this, but to possibly put a bow on this,
Yeah.
the perception of the public and our fans, people who love our beer or love craft beer, they just don't know that we're not, to borrow the things we are talking about before, playing in the same sandbox as the big boys, and we just never will. Even the biggest, and I'll go back to what you said earlier, Tim, which I think was so so important. Even the biggest breweries just aren't there. And they're not going to be there. The biggest craft breweries they pale in comparison to Anheuser-Busch, and they always will. It's a different business model. It's a different way to do anything
I don't
in
know a
in the
single
beer
Sierra
space.
Nevada ballpark.
But and that yes. So I think it's just important, as people that listen to this show, a lot of them are beer industry people, and they know this. But anyone who doesn't, like, why is our beer not in this place? Well, we just gave you a lot of good reasons, because there are barriers to entry that we just cannot cross. And we can go really a long way down the rabbit hole to talk about all the reasons why that is, and all the reasons why our margins are so tight and people don't get paid what they should get paid, and what have you. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to look at it like in an encapsulating way, we're small businesses. We're not, conglomerates that span the globe. And even though some of us want to be, we're not going to be. That's aspirational nonsense. It's just not the way it's going to work. We're going to have to be satisfied with what we have and carve out our niche and do it in a way that at some point makes us profitable, in a business plan that makes sense.
Okay, so I know we're gonna kind of wrap a bow on this, and I do have one question I want to ask for both of you guys, right? So, one of the things I think that we do really well in this podcast is maybe shining a light on the reality of the business, right? So we all fell in love with beer because of the romanticism, right? And someone like Kevin has had to be smacked in the face with like the reality of beer not being as nearly as romantic, and I don't think Mike just understands romance. But
romance.
but okay, but the reality is, right, is Mike is one of the more undersung guys when it comes to marketing, because he has a lot more of that savvy. And Kevin, whether or not I want to give you credit for this, like, there are plenty of people in Minnesota where you do not distribute beer who know who Barrel of Monks is, and it's certainly not because of me, because most people like ignore me. But the reality is, you guys do understand. So if we can finish up this episode with, yeah, no, Copper Point isn't going to sponsor the Marlins, and Barrel of Monks is not going to bring you this episode of any latest MTV reality show. But you guys have had maybe what I would say is some marketing. Like, what do you guys see? And I'll start with you, Mike, and then I'll go to Kevin. What do you guys see as things that you guys have learned that has been successful? So if other people in the brewing industry are seeing this, or our listeners who understand, who have now listened to us be dicks about it for an hour of, we just can't play in that sandbox. But what are things that you guys are doing well, or what are you guys seeing that is successful?
I think that hyper localized sponsorship stuff works, especially stuff in your backyard. This hasn't
I've
paid
got bags
off
in my
yet.
backyard and maybe some pickleball. So do you want to sponsor my pickleball league?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You mean me or Copper Point?
Both.
I'll sponsor it. I'll give you $10 to be the Mike Yurevich
I've got
pickleball.
I've got 30. I've got 30.
I was like,
Do I
you
win?
know what? You know what I need? I need a bag set. My bags right now, and I say it bags. I know I'm Midwestern. I don't say
Cornhole.
cornhole. I don't say it. Mine are like Jack Daniels ones that I got from them back in the day. I want to have a Copper Point versus Barrel of Monks bag set, and each team has to throw it. I'm just saying, if you guys are gonna get into bidding war, I need some bags.
So I'll get on that. So I think that hyper localized stuff is really, especially like if you're not looking at setting the world on fire, or maybe if you are, but like I said, that Garlic Fest spot really worked out for us because we were getting into some sets on Publix locations in Wellington, the city where they were hosting that event. We are trying to get into like just an event with our own city, like who do first Fridays of every month, like a concert series, and they don't have any local beer on for that. They buy from our distributor, Budweiser, but they don't have our beer. And we're like, what do we need to do for you guys to carry some Copper Point at your thing? Like if it's a sponsorship thing, we can talk about that because that like it could work for us.
Yeah, sorry. Side note: it's one of the things that's most frustrating is people who buy from a distributor who don't even know that your brand is part of that distributor's portfolio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that is a very rough thing, but
Yeah.
like I think looking at a sponsorship opportunity and what is also around, like if people who go to that thing, that event, or go to that venue often, like will they be able to find your beer in a 5 to 10 mile radius outside of that place as well if they live in that area? Like whether that be at a number of bars and restaurants or in grocery stores around that area, because people will tend to ask like, hey, can I find you around here? If you're in those places already, or if you can create some sort of plan to get in places like that along with that sponsorship, excuse me. I think really specific hyper local activations and sponsorships like that can really work out for you, as opposed to just wide net stuff that like the most expensive huge net you could possibly buy, just throwing that out and seeing maybe we'll catch enough fish to make this
I
worthwhile.
don't know, man. I think there needs to be a Copper Point bowl sponsored by Fruit by the Foot. Like, I think there needs to be something.
the Automax presents the Copper Point Bowl presented by Fruit by the Foot.
No,
Get as many
no,
sponsorship dollars in as they can.
I really do appreciate what you're saying though about the hyper local. Like, so as much as I talk about, the ubiquity, whatever, the reality is to me, I feel like the way the breweries survive is that community connectedness, right?
Yeah.
And you're not connected because your name is on the side of, and it's so funny because
And you're playing more in your sandbox than in
Yeah.
the big boys sandbox. Like
Yeah.
the big boys certainly like to play in those little smaller ones where they can too. But I think that there is a little more pull for localized stuff in that sandbox, and where those places might be more inclined to be like, hey, well, AB wants to do this with us, but we'd rather work with you. Can you meet us at this number? And if that makes sense, like, hey, sweet, awesome. We did something with local people, even though they were trying to, and they wanted to work with us more and be more in line with us. I think those are much more friendly environments for breweries of our size to be playing in.
And like aligned with your brand identity, right? So one of the breweries that I always go to all the time is True in Denver, right? You guys know True, right?
Yeah. Big True.
Not a national brand. Not a big brand. Not a welcoming environment in any way, shape, or form unless you're in for their brand. But they know their customer, right? And that's one of the biggest problems I have with all these sponsorship ideas is my customer isn't everyone. My customer isn't every. I remember as a kid, my dad worked for some large companies, like the Monsantos and the Pioneers or whatever. And I asked why I never saw commercials for them. He's like, because we're not going to put a commercial on when you're listening because we're not targeting you, right? And I think that's the challenge of a sponsorship of a minor league baseball team or of a Red Bull flotilla or whatever, is that you still have to understand what people are going for. So Kevin, tell me some of your things that you guys have done at Barrel of Monks where you guys have done an amazing job, where you were blown away by how much your team or whatever, like, is surprised by a good marketing coup.
Well, I thought the question was like, what do you think that?
No, fuck that. I'm changing.
He can change the question. Listen.
Oh, you're Rowdy Piper.
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna. I will echo what Mike has said. I think it's important to be local, but this is a recommendation I would give to anybody in this space. Be demanding. Don't look at anything someone is offering you as a gift. The fact of the matter is, they're offering that gift to 40 other breweries. They're not doing it because they like you and they're your best friend, and you don't owe them anything. So if you can look at every opportunity as objectively and then evaluate it to see what it will actually do for you, and then pass potentially on it, I think it's the best thing that you can possibly do. Don't feel forced into something because you feel like you have to do something or else you won't succeed. Because a lot of these opportunities are not going to be a positive thing for your cash flow.
Yeah.
And you worry, man, what if I don't do this? What if I don't do this? What if this would be the greatest thing ever for my brewery and I don't do it and I'll regret it? That's not the way you do business. You evaluate it, you make a decision that this is not going to be profitable, that this doesn't make sense for marketing, and then you go on. And if someone else picks up the mantle and they crush it, you necessarily or might not have crushed it in the same way that they did.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You're not losing because someone did a good job with the thing you turned down.
I just
Know
think it's
who
really
you are.
Yeah, I just think it's really important not to be hemmed in and to feel like you are beholden to anybody. And I think you need to demand for yourself what you need and let them tell you no. Let someone say, that's ridiculous. We said X amount and you came in at 10% of that. Let them say no. You never know when they're going to say yes. And if you're the kind of brewery that can go in at that full amount, good for you. If you're not, keep fighting and maybe you'll get a win here or there.
I mean, it's sort of like that guy who's not looking for a job, but a recruiter comes to him and you throw out almost a ridiculous amount of money. I'm not even ridiculous, but it's just like, no, this is what I'm worth type of thing. I'm not even going to consider this until you give me what like aligns with what I want out of my career, job, life, like whatever type of thing. And I do think that's something that you guys do. Like, I mean, even Kevin, your old favorite Fridays, things like that more identifies your brand identity than any naming rights to anything would ever be. Frankly, and that's a. I mean, I know you do charge back to the company like $7,000, like a recording of old favorite Fridays. Like obviously, like yeah.
It's $8,000 per video, but yeah, I mean it's
But
close.
yeah, but the
It's
reality is
fair market value.
yeah, yeah. But you know who you are, and to Mike's point about being hyper local and understanding that, like, know who you are. Maybe is the biggest thing.
I think so. And know what you need. Don't reach. That's the thing. Don't reach beyond your means because you think you have to make a splash. Realize what you can actually, what can you actually retain from that? What can you benefit from it? And if you don't see a benefit for this, if you don't see an ROI, run the fuck away until you're fucking AB. And then just throw money around like it's Christmas.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to kind of leave things at there. Let's head into last calls, the point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beverage related or not. The only rules are that it is uninterrupted, unopposed, unobjected. And let's start things off with Kevin.
So we have talked a lot about the closures of craft breweries over the time of this podcast. And recently, there was news that Cycle Brewing was going to be closing. And that's a brewery that's really interesting to me because they've been around for a long time in South Florida. Really one of the early kind of it breweries that put out beers that were highly sought after. And a brewery that really, set some of the benchmarks for what South Florida beer was going to be. And we've seen a lot of breweries close. And I want to implore people to start looking at their business and start looking at their breweries and changing the way that we look at success. And I know some of this will come off as me maybe prepping for something negative down the pike. I'm not doing that. Barrel of Monks is healthy. We're going to be around for a while. I mean, at least at this point. But I want people to realize that breweries are not businesses that are necessarily going to last for 100 years. We want them to. We want to pass them down to our kids, and we want to employ people for as long as we possibly can. But there's a natural life cycle for a lot of businesses, and breweries are no different. Success can be gauged by how many stadium deals we have. It can be gauged by being around for 10, 20, 30 years. But it can be also gauged by just making your community a little bit better for a short period of time. It can be gauged by allowing people to make an income and something they actually enjoy for a short period of time, there's a lot of positives that can come from having a business, employing people, kind of enjoying your day. Not, it's not ever going to be like the best thing in the world. It's still a job, but I think it's important for us to recontextualize what success looks like. We've been taught that success means millions and billions of dollars. It means never having to work again. It means selling out to the highest bidder. But success can just mean getting through 5 or 10 or 15 years of your life doing something you kind of like to do, and maybe helping other people do something they kind of like to do for a period of time. That's success. And in any measure of success, making someone's day maybe just a little bit better than it would have been otherwise. I can be very negative about all these closures and the brewing industry. But at the end of the day, a lot of people have got a lot of benefit out of these businesses, either by being consumers of them or being employees of them. We can't forget that. Don't beat yourself up too much. This can be a positive thing, whether you're around for 5 years or around for 50.
You're here. It's funny. My actual plan to do a last call, I spouted off earlier. I was going to talk about Waypoint and Flanagan's, and then for some reason I decided to say that earlier. And then midway through the show, I'm like, oh shit, I just did my last call way earlier in the show than I intended for it. So, all I just want to say is, true Philadelphia Phillies season going on right now, with fucking feeling like we were going great and then terrible and then we were doing good again and then we lost our best relief pitcher to a fucking drug thing, and how do you not know what the fuck you're putting in your body? Feelings, baseball season. That's my last call. Tim?
I hate that this is supposed to be like with no response or no recall, because I also love that you just shouted out random words with non-complete sentences. Feelings, baseball, cargo shorts. Like, you just shout out random things. So I also appreciate that. No, my last call was going to say, so I've probably not been shy on this podcast about how, what we struggle with mental health issues. And I did not have a great evening last night. But I knew I could reach out to Kevin, I could reach out to Mike, I could reach out to former host of this pod, Joel, and tell them I had a shit bag night and I'm struggling, right? But that's why I love these guys. Like, the reality is there's so many relationships you could have in your life. There's so many things where you're gonna struggle. You're gonna hurt people. They're gonna hurt you. You're going to not understand what the next step is. But I am so grateful that I have found people who understand me, who are patient despite all of my faults. I had a special lady friend who dropped off some dinner for me and some flowers. I've never gotten flowers before. And I wasn't here. Like, I literally walked in, like, she surprised me with flowers. And Jesus Christ, it like melted my heart. But the reality is there are a lot of people that you're going to run through in your life. But finding the people who get you, who have the patience for you, it's good. Like, I look forward to recording with these two gentlemen because man, it's a long road. So make sure you understand the people you're with, and um, like it. It just makes me feel better. Like I get excited to record this podcast because I know these people are going to like lift me up. And I can't believe I'm literally admitting this in front of them because fuck those guys. But no, seriously, man, when you find your people, just I said the other day before I deleted my social media, I have a lot of things that I regret in life. A lot of things I regret in life. I've hurt people. I've made bad choices. You know what I've never regretted? Saying I love you. I've never regretted saying I love you, and please do not let time go by without letting the people you know. So, Kevin, Mike, love you guys.
Love you too, man.
Love you too.
You're not supposed to respond. That's
I
how
don't
last
care.
call works.
Yeah, you set us up, but that's a powerful statement that everyone has to, kind of chime in on.
Anyone want to plug anything?
I actually do, and it's rare, but kind of piggybacking on what Tim just said. And by the way, Tim, your willingness to be open about some of your struggles is everything. It's really what we need in this world. We need more people to be open about their struggles because we all struggle. And it hides so much in the shadows and we do not acknowledge it. And we don't realize how many other people are experiencing the same things that we experience. In that vein, now I'm going to promote a beer, which is embarrassing, but I'm going to do it anyway. We're doing a beer called Breaking the Silence. It is a pale ale that we created with our friend Sam from Savage Life, who's been on this show, and the guys from Dirty Ore Brewing up in like Central Florida. And this beer is being created for Survive First, which is a organization that provides mental health assistance for first responders. That is their specific goal. The money raised by them literally goes directly to people going to a therapist and getting help. We're not talking about a bunch of t-shirts and stickers and all this other marketing bullshit. This is money that goes, and every dollar you give to them goes to somebody who's important in this world getting mental health, and it could not be more important. A lot of people, not a lot of people, I've talked with other people in this space in the beer industry and got some, quite frankly, negative feedback because they're like, well, it's first responders, it's police. There's some weird things with police, and maybe that's not the best thing you want to be promoting right now. I will promote mental health advocacy for any human being on this planet because that is something we should be supporting across the board. Our federal government should be advocating for mental health for all people. We should be doing mental health advocacy in every school that is funded by tax dollars. The more money we put into mental health, the better our society is. So we are doing this beer. Proceeds from this beer will benefit Making Strides. But fuck that. Don't buy our beer unless you're planning to come anyway. Don't do that. Just go to Making Strides. Making Strides. I'm sorry. I just got lost there because that's my other charity that we benefit with our other beer, which is Wizard and Pink. Go to Survive First. Survive First. Google it. Just donate money directly to them. Don't come and drink our beer unless you're going to do it anyway. Give money to them directly. That's what you should be doing if you're interested in supporting mental health for all people. And first responders are in desperate need of these services. So please do that.
What's the name of the beer again?
It's called Breaking the Silence. It's an American Pale Ale. It's going to be out. I should have said that, but it's going to be out on June 7th. the beer release will actually be, and we're gonna have 6 packs. So we're gonna have draft available in the tap room.
Okay, cool. I will try my best to come down and grab some.
We'll be there, by the way. Ali and I and Jad will all be there for that day, which is very rare because I'm not usually at the brewery on weekends.
As you should take a break from work. Tim, you want to plug anything?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say, fuck Kevin, because first his wife ruined last calls, and we can't do those anymore. And now he's gonna ruin plugs with things that are meaningful. No, sort of kind of a little kind of hidden teaser of this episode. I am kind of back in the industry. I am a brewer, but I'm not a brewer of beer. I'm now a brewer of coffee. It's literally the exact same thing without the yeast, which is the title of Kevin's Christmas story. But I work for Busy Coffee. You can find them in your Publicis, your Aldi's, your Hy-Vee, your Targets, whatever. And so I'm gonna do a super shameless plug to say please go drink the coffee that I promise I'm only putting my hands in a little bit. I would like to eventually retire someday. Yes, I'm literally dipping them in like I'm waxing my fingers, Kevin. That's perfect. Yeah, it's think of it more of as a cold brew fondue. Uh, but no, seriously.
Manos, the hands of coffee.
Yeah. Busy cold brew. I can't believe gonna do a totally shameless plug. But I'm gonna do it because a 10-year-old daughter, and I would like her to be able to like enjoy things that dad can provide. So, anyway, that is my plug, and then also, I wanted to go ahead and like give a little bit of a plug for Kunk on Earth. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that on Netflix, but just give that a shot as well. That totally unrelated, but I want to throw it in there.
I've seen that on the app, but I've never gone for it.
Mike, I guarantee you will be angry and giggly at the exact same time.
Because that's exactly what I need, is being angry and giggly at the same time.
That's the title of your sex tape. So yeah.
If you want to support our show, go to our website, unitedwedrink.com, and check out the Brands We Love page. We have stuff on there. If you buy something through those links, we get a little kickback on that, and it just goes towards our hosting fees. We also have our web store, unitedwedrink.com/store, with shirts, buttons, stickers, and maybe someday I'll get around to designing some new stuff. We are available on all of your favorite podcast apps, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, if that still exists. I don't know.
I'm still waiting for you to record
Addict,
things on cassette
Overcast.
tape and send them out. I guarantee you we'll get more comments from Kevin's dad if you put that on like reel to reel or something.
Are there still tape traders out there? Like I'll give you our whole back catalog on cassette for like the 1979 Dead show where they played like really fucking stoned at Shea Stadium or something like that. I don't know.
I take every one of our episodes and I put it on like a spindle with knobs, and it just plays like a music box. You have to crank the thing, and it literally is just.
By the way, speaking of the Dead, Kevin, did you know that Morgan lives very close to you?
I've actually seen him in Publix, a Publixi, and like seen him in an aisle. So yes, I know that he's relatively close to me.
A mutual friend of ours was telling me how he goes to the Publix by your house to have beers with him because you're Publix out there has a bar.
Oh, well,
And
that's the old Greenwise. Yeah, I didn't know he went to that Publix. Maybe I have to go
Oh,
start
okay.
hanging out there so I can run into him and have some conversation about the olden times.
yeah, Kevin's old understudy at the lounge. But thank you, everyone. We'll see you again in a couple weeks. And cheers.
Cheers.